Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This movie tells the story of a man who confronts the past he thought he left behind when he's drawn into the web of the mysterious Ten Rings organization. Can he be free from the organization? Let's find out in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings tells the story of the legend of 10 magic rings that can grant extraordinary power and immortality to anyone who wears them. Thousands of years ago, a man named Zhu Wenwu managed to collect the 10 magic rings and possess the power and immortality as told in the legends. Wenwu then founded the Ten Rings organization and trained warriors from all over the world to conquer empires and overthrow governments throughout history to accumulate wealth. Until 1996, he became interested in finding out about Ta Lo, a village that is inhabited by mythical creatures and filled with ancient magic. Without further ado, he immediately went to Ta Lo village with his men. Wenwu and his group traveled through a magical forest that had been enchanted with magic. The forest is like a maze whose purpose is to mislead people from reaching Ta Lo village. In fact, the forest miraculously moves and crushes anyone who walks along the road leading to the village of Ta Lo. Wenwu and his men had an accident due to this. Luckily, he was still able to survive the accident. Wenwu, who was determined to find Ta Lo village, then explored the forest alone, until finally he met a beautiful woman named Yinglai, the gatekeeper of Ta Lo village. Wenwu, who had the 10 rings, was confident that he could easily defeat Yinglai. But in reality, Wenwu had a hard time facing Yinglai, the toughest warrior in Ta Lo village. After a fairly fierce battle, Yinglai then managed to defeat Wenwu, even though the man was the holder of the 10 rings. On the other hand, Wenwu, who finally had to accept his defeat to Yinglai, was captivated by her beauty and strength. Long story short, the two fell in love and decided to get married. However, the elders and the villagers of Ta Lo rejected Wenwu's presence in their village. Not getting approval from the people in her village, Yinglai decided to leave her village and go with Wenwu. Wenwu and Yinglai finally married in the city and had a son named Shang-Chi and a daughter named Xialing. After finding his true love and having a happy family, Wenwu decided to leave the leadership of the Ten Rings organization and lock the 10 magic rings in a box to live a normal life. When Shang-Chi was 7 years old, Yinglai told her about the legend of a dragon in Ta Lo village who had given her the power to protect Ta Lo village. After that, she gave a necklace with a green jade pendant to Shang-Chi and Xialing as well. Yinglai says that the necklace can direct the right path whenever Shang-Chi feels lost in his life. One day, a group of well-built men came to Wenwu's house when he was not at home. The Iron Gang was the enemy of Wenwu and his organization and had come there for revenge. Yinglai tried to protect her children from the gangsters' attacks, but in the end, the Iron Gang succeeded in killing her and destroying the Wenwu residence. When Wenwu returned home, it was already too late. Yinglai was already lying lifeless and his house was falling apart. Since his wife's death, he returns to wearing the 10 rings and continues the leadership of the 10 Rings organization to take revenge on the Iron Gang who killed his beloved wife. Not only that, he also made Shang-Chi undergo very heavy training in martial arts to make his son a reliable fighter. Until finally, when Shang-Chi was 14 years old, Wenwu sent him to kill the leader of the Iron Gang. After refusing to fulfill his mission, Shang-Chi, who is still indecisive about himself, finally decides to leave a dark life overshadowed by revenge for his mother's death and flees to San Francisco. Years later to this day, Shang-Chi lives a simple life and works as a hotel employee along with his best friend, a girl named Katie, who doesn't know about his past. One day, when Shang-Chi and Katie are taking the bus to go to work, they are approached by a man who seems interested in the necklace Shang-Chi is wearing and intends to take it. Of course, Shang-Chi doesn't stay silent and insists on keeping the necklace because it was a gift from his late mother. Because Shang-Chi refused to give the necklace, the man then called his group who were already on the bus and they immediately attacked him. A fight in a moving bus was inevitable. Shang-Chi can almost defeat the herd, but a mysterious, burly man sitting in the backseat suddenly gets up and confronts Shang-Chi. After the man demonstrates his fighting skills, Shang-Chi knows very well that the man is part of his father's 10 Rings organization. On the other hand, a man can be seen recording the fight between Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings gang in a moving bus. Thanks to Katie's help, Shang-Chi was able to paralyze the 10 Rings herd and ensure the safety of the other bus passengers, although in the end his necklace was stolen by the 10 Rings gang. After realizing that his necklace had been stolen by the 10 Rings gang, Shang-Chi immediately packed his things and intended to go to Macau. Seeing her friend who looks panicked, Katie then urges Shang-Chi to reveal what really happened. Shang-Chi finally reveals his past to Katie about his family as well as the 10 Rings organization. Shang-Chi says that her younger sister, Xialing, also has the same necklace. After the 10 Rings gang attacks him to take the necklace, he he assumes that his father will also order his men to take the necklace that belongs to Xialing, which means his younger sister will be in a dangerous situation. Shang-Chi manages to get Xialing's address sent via postcard from Macau. After listening to Shang-Chi's story, Katie decides to help her best friend and goes to Macau with him. Arriving in Macau, Shang-Chi and Katie manage to find Xialing in an illegal underground fighting club founded by Xialing shortly after the girl ran away from her father at a young age. Shang-Chi is forced to join the fight against Xialing. Xialing still harbors anger at her older brother after he decides to run away alone and leave her. Xialing, who had been practicing martial arts independently because her father forbade her to fight, finally managed to knock out Shang-Chi easily. After the fight, Shang-Chi immediately tells Xialing what happened in San Francisco. But Xialing didn't seem too worried and was confident that she could protect the necklace as well as herself from the attacks of the Ten Rings gang. At the same time, the Ten Rings group invaded Xialing's underground fighting club. Shang-Chi, Katie and Xialing try to save themselves from the onslaught of Wenwu's Ten Rings gang. Katie almost fell from a height, but Xialing immediately rushed to save her. The battle between Shang-Chi and Xialing against the Ten Rings gang was actually quite balanced. Wenwu and the Ten Rings organization finally got the hang of things and managed to seize Xialing's necklace. After that, they immediately took Shang-Chi, Katie, and Xialing to the headquarters of the Ten Rings organization. There, Wenwu, who started his research on Ta Lo village since his wife's death, then told his children about the existence of a sealed gate in Ta Lo village. Wenwu explained that he heard Ying Lai's voice calling him and believed that his wife was being held captive in Ta Lo, behind the sealed gate, and begged him to release her immediately. Obviously, Shang-Chi and Xialing don't believe their father's words and think the story is just a myth. But then, Wenwu tried to convince his children by using both Shang-Chi's and Xialing's pendants. Wenwu placed the two pendants on a dragon statue that was specially made to resemble the mythical dragon of Ta Lo village. After the two pendants were completely attached to the eyes of the dragon statue, a jet of water suddenly appeared around the place and revealed a mystical map leading to the sealed gate in the village of Ta Lo. Wenwu then plans to destroy Ta Lo village, unless the villagers open the gate and free his wife. Since Shang-Chi and Xialing believed that their mother had died many years ago and didn't want to start a fight with the Ta Lo villagers, they refused to help Wenwu open the closed gate. Rejected by his children, Wenwu then imprisoned them, including Katie. Inside the prison, the three met a man who was a former actor named Trevor Slattery, who was imprisoned by Wenwu for pretending to be the leader of the Ten Rings. While being held captive by Wenwu, Trevor was able to interact with a mythological creature Hundun, which came from the village of Ta Lo. Trevor then offers to help guide them to the village of Ta Lo, ahead of their father and the Ten Rings gang. Together with Trevor, Shang-Chi and his friends walked through the maze forest until they finally arrived at the gate of the village of Ta Lo. After going through the waterfall, a dimensional portal, they can also enter the Ta Lo village area, which is filled with various types of Chinese mythological creatures that have inhabited Ta Lo village for centuries. The villagers welcomed the arrival of Shang-Chi and company, especially by Ying Nan, Ying Lai's older sister, who was also their aunt. Nan then explains to Shang-Chi about the sealed gate their father talked about. The gate is actually a kind of prison to lock up an ancient mythological creature known to be very cruel and ambitious to destroy the universe. The villagers of Ta Lo are the chosen people who are trusted to guard the Dark Gate for thousands of years. Nan also tells a little about the history of the village of Ta Lo, where thousands of years ago, the village of Ta Lo was attacked by a soul-eating mythological creature named Dweller in Darkness and its minions. However, they were rescued by a Chinese dragon called the Great Protector, who helped seal the Dark Gate. According to Nan, Dweller in Darkness had influenced Wenwu to believe that Ying Lai was still alive, so Wenwu would open the Dark Gate with the power of the Ten Rings. At Nan's request, Shang-Chi, Xialing, and Katie finally decide to join the villagers of Ta Lo in self-defense training and prepare for the attack of Wenwu and his men. Ying Lai, who had predicted that Shang-Chi and Xialing would come to Ta Lo village, had apparently already prepared clothes and weapons made of dragon scales to deal with this precarious situation. In the very limited time before Wenwu and the Ten Rings army attacked the village, Shang-Chi and Xialing practiced the martial arts typical of the Ta Lo village very diligently. Not to be outdone, Katie also practiced archery to help her friends in the fight. Finally, Wenwu and the Ten Rings army arrived and immediately attacked Ta Lo village. Wenwu came face to face with his son, Shang-Chi, who had defected and stood up for the opposing side. However, Shang-Chi, who has believed that he has made the right decision because he doesn't want to be trapped in a cycle of hatred and revenge, tries his best to stop his father from potentially causing havoc to the universe. However, Wenwu still had the upper hand for having the Ten Rings. After Wenwu knocked Shang-Chi down with a single blow that caused Shang-Chi to fall into the lake, he then destroyed the Dark Gate using the power of the 10 rings. Wenwu's actions caused several of Dweller in Darkness minions to flee and start hunting for human souls to later give to their leader so that Dweller in Darkness could consume the souls and become stronger. Due to another attack from soul-eating mythological creatures, the 10 Rings troops finally joined the Ta Lo villagers and worked hand in hand against these creatures. Meanwhile, Shang-Chi, who almost drowned in the lake, remembers about his mother's story about the dragon Ta Lo who became a part of Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is then revived by the Great Protector, then rides the dragon and rises to the water's surface. Along with the Great Protector, Shang-Chi helps the villagers of Ta Lo fight the henchmen of Dweller in Darkness. After that, he again fights his father who tries to destroy the gate completely. It turns out that Shang-Chi can control the power of the 10 Rings, which allows him to reverse Wenwu's attack and defeat him. Shang-Chi had the opportunity to kill his father, but he chose to spare his father's life. In the fight, Dweller in Darkness finally escapes the weakened Dark Gate and attacks Shang-Chi. However, Wenwu swiftly saved his son and passed the 10 Rings to him just before his soul was devoured by Dweller in Darkness. Xialing, who rides the dragon Ta Lo, then saves Shang-Chi and they both fight Dweller in Darkness along with the Great Protector. A fierce battle between the two strongest mythological creatures was inevitable. However, Dweller in Darkness, whose strength had almost fully recovered, managed to urge the Great Protector and intended to devour its soul. But then, at the crucial moment, Katie shot an arrow that precisely hit the Dark Dweller's neck. Shang-Chi and Xialing did not waste this opportunity and immediately put their full strength into defeating the creature. With the power of the 10 Rings, Shang-Chi manages to detonate Dweller in Darkness and stop the catastrophe that threatens the world. After the battle was over, Shang-Chi and his friends, along with the villagers of Ta Lo and the 10 Rings troops who had survived, held a tribute ceremony for their comrades who died on the battlefield. After that, Shang-Chi and Katie returned to San Francisco, where Wong accosted through a portal ring and taken somewhere. Wong then introduced Shang-Chi and Katie to Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers. Wong explained that the 10 Rings were first discovered in an area called Camertage. Wong and the others believe that the 10 Rings act as a beacon or signal for something they don't know yet. In the post-credits scene, Xialing becomes the new leader of the 10 Rings organization in place of her father, even though she informs Shang-Chi that she will be disbanding the organization. The film ends,